Hello and welcome to the Empower Couples podcast, where here you get modern, non-boring relationship advice for you and your partner to communicate like pros, fight smarter, and stay on the same team, no matter the challenge that you face. I am one of your hosts, Aaron Freeman.
And I'm Jocelyn Freeman, but you all just know us as the Freemans.
And today we want to cover 5 daily habits that make you a happier couple.
And it really does come down to the daily.
Yeah, it really does. And one thing we want to distinguish here is the difference between happiness and joy. Now, we're not going to take a long time. There's a number of relationship and personal development content out there that does make this point that happiness is really about the feeling you get from external circumstances being more to your liking, if you will. Where joy is the internal state that you can generate or create really regardless of the external circumstances being the way you want them or not. Now, the next school of thought is, well, if you're generating joy, then you have the internal experience you want, no matter what's happening outside, because you don't always control that. But also, then there's the belief that by being that way internally, it does then alter your external circumstances to work out for the better, and then it adds the happiness. Mm-hmm. So we won't say more than that, but it is just good to consider that there's a difference between happiness and joy, and really what we're inviting you into is more the realm of joy, that this is intentional connection, it's intentional joy, intentional love that you're generating before you get into the practical, the functional, or the challenges of a day.
And that it's ultimately about the choices, because like Aaron was saying, if you really do think of happiness as something that is just the result of, as Aaron put, things going your way or circumstances looking good, then your marriage will feel like a roller coaster. Because the reality is, in a marriage, even what, couples consider, if they say, oh yeah, we're a happy couple, and they genuinely mean that, they don't mean, hey, we never have hard days or we're never annoyed with each other. It isn't about even just the moment of time that you're frustrated. It's about, okay, how do we bounce back from this? This will be getting into a point in the future. And overall, in our life, are we intentionally creating a happy marriage rather than just hoping it feels like that? And so these habits are going to be intentional choices, and these aren't rocket science, and they aren't even difficult. But it is often the simple things that people overlook or aren't consistent with. And that's what we're going to really challenge you to do with these habits. Is it's not, oh, let's try this out for a day or a week. It is, let's be consistent and see the magic unfold, because we will be happier individuals showing up to this marriage. And if you think about it, how can you create a happy marriage if you two aren't focusing on being happy, joyful individuals? And so that's really the magic formula, is if each of us are focusing on being happy individuals and intentionally creating a happy marriage, man, I mean, you can overcome anything. You can feel fulfilled in your partnership no matter what you're facing.
Mm-hmm. And so as we go into these 5 habits, there will be a common thread that it's about becoming more responsive and proactive to the things that you might face in your day and in your life rather than reactive. So let me kick us off with habit 1, and simply saying, start and end with intentions. Now, as far as a psychology standpoint goes, your memory, you tend to remember the things at the beginning and at the end. And that's really the case for movies and books. You remember how it starts and you remember how it ends, and the things in the middle, it's just where there's kind of more emotion that's tied to it. So we want to utilize that idea and to establish emotional connection at the beginning and at the end of each of your day. And so similarly, what you could do is you wake up and you want to set an intention with each other about how you are going to set out to experience the day. Now, we're not getting into logic. We're not talking about getting your calendars out and seeing what you have on there, because that's functional, logistical things. It doesn't necessarily bring emotional connection. Yes, it has you be on the same page. However, we want to start with the emotional experience first and, really get present with each other and determine what kind of experience would you like to have today. And I would say we used to do this every day and much more often earlier in our relationship.
Yes.
And now we do more of it, I would say, on our own. We could probably get back to sharing these with each other. But it's just saying, I intend to really experience today as creative, as maybe it's productive, maybe it's connecting, maybe it's harmonious, maybe it's ease, maybe it's being able to have celebration or achievement. So you really pick what your emotional experiences that you want to have. Maybe you each share them and then land on, what is the topic for each of us. Because what this does is it sets you up to maintain or to focus on maintaining that internal experience regardless of what comes up in that day. And it becomes easier then for you to course correct and remind each other if you have a short remark or something happens that was unplanned, or you're parenting and, again, something out of your control. Hey, let's remember today we started off with being on the same page, being collaborative. It's like, oh, okay, good. So it helps you remember in those course corrects. And also your other alternative here is you wake up, you get to your phone, you see the emails, you look at your task manager on your phone, your app, you look at all things there is to do today, and then you're already in function. So you've already missed the window of emotional connection and then establishing a baseline of that emotional experience and then letting your actions be course corrected. So at the end of the day, it's not about what happened to you. It's about ending and fulfilling on the intention that you set.
Let me tell them about how we failed to do this today, because I think it will be helpful, number one, because we aren't perfect and we never want to portray that, but also how we can notice so quickly the contrast of when we aren't doing this. So we just went on a 48-hour trip to California, saw a couple family members. It was Mother's Day weekend, saw a couple family members. Aaron celebrated me in a couple sweet ways, right? Like, nice time, but we were also with family. We had our daughter. So there was so much focus on connecting with the family, taking care of our daughter. And there was just very few moments where we got to be alone together. Okay, we can withstand that. That's going to happen from time to time. We get back in town this morning, and just the way our schedule worked out and the fact that our daughter has chosen to wake up at 5:15 every morning lately, which is not our favorite because we wake up early to try and get some time to ourselves. So she's encroaching on our time to ourselves. So we woke up and it is immediately into one of us with her, the other getting lunch ready, like just separate, dividing and conquering. Now, that's not a problem. That's going to happen from time to time. That's life. Life is not perfect, no matter what routine you set up. And then after we got her to school, we just had things on the books. We wanted to work out, and then we had meetings to get into. And so we were just kind of operating beside each other. And we noticed, even by lunchtime, hey, you said it to me, Aaron, I just don't feel connected right now. And for us, that's not a problem to say. That's not a threat. That's not something we need to take offense to. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. We haven't synced up. And so we can feel it so quickly when we don't just take a minute, because here's what it practically looks like. Because Aaron gave you a couple examples. It looks like when we do wake up before our daughter, one of us comes up behind the other, gives a hug. Hey, good morning. It can be as simple as, hey, it's going to be a great day today, babe. It can be a more thought out intention, like Aaron said, of like, hey, let's have a really positive, fun day today. Like, these aren't complex things that you're saying, right? It's just a positive note. It's touching each other. It's taking a moment to sync up. So I want that to feel very practical.
Yeah, definitely. Now, the end of the day one, and this kind of comes from some ideas from Napoleon Hill and Neville Goddard, if you're familiar with those guys' work. But it's essentially that, we all end the day and we kind of review or replay the things that happened. And for, many of us, we replay what we didn't get done. And I know, especially for you, when that happens, then it kind of ramps up your energy and you don't sleep well. So you don't want to do that anyway. So the idea here is that you review your day, but you review it from the lens of the positive things or the intention that you set. Even, I know some people are going to maybe question this, but is it Neville? Neville Goddard's one is to review your day as if it went the way you went.
Rewrite the script.
Actually, I think that's what it's called. I actually think it's called Rewrite the Script. That was cool you thought about that. And you really have two options, right? You're going to end the day thinking about the negatives, whether those were the biggest in your day or not. You're going to think about what didn't get done. And then you feel a little bit frustrated or disappointed with how the day went, and then you just sleep. And then you start to carry that into the next day. Or you come back together at the end of the day, and you say, wow, this was really great. You know what? We actually learned something. We clarified something. Or if your intention was to be collaborative, it's like, wow, you know what? We had a whole bunch of things that happened in the middle of the day, but look where we're ending. We actually stayed collaborative. Wow, it's amazing that we were able to fulfill the intention for our internal experience in the face of all of the things that were out of our control.
Yeah.
Wow, isn't that amazing? What a great team we are. So you want to review the day and really end it in a way that brings some sort of lesson or brings you back together. And then you can see if you start to stack this up over days and consecutive days, starting and then ending this way, man, you're really going to feel much, much more connected, and it's going to lead to much more joy and more happiness as you stack this together.
Well said. And that's actually a perfect segue into habit 2, because it's actually so interconnected. And it is be net positive in your love accounts. For those of you new here, quick explanation of the love account. The love account is a representation of how loved and connected you feel in your relationship right now. And like a bank account, it's the sum of your deposits versus your withdrawals. Now, the busier you get, the longer you're together, and when you encounter challenges, it's not only very easy to make way less deposits to each other's love account, but to also start making way more withdrawals. And that's a dangerous formula. And that's why you can start to feel like everything is becoming a big thing. Why are these little interactions feeling like we're bickering and then it turns into big fights, or a little fight makes us feel so disconnected, like it didn't used to be like this? And a very large percentage of the time, it's because your love accounts are low. You aren't feeling loved and connected. Now, that's different than knowing you're loved by each other. Because people will say that all the time, babe, don't you know I love you? And it's like, okay, sure, there's the commitment to each other. And I know deep down you love me, but our interactions are not showing each other that we're loving each other and that we are connected, going back to even that first point. So this habit is that every day, part of this intention from habit number 1 is I want to make sure my partner's love account is net positive. So therefore,
by at least one.
At least one. But what that means, and it doesn't mean you're literally counting your actions. Like some people think this is so literal and they're starting to like take notes of their partner's action. It's like, no, you're not being that detailed with each other. It's just overall noticing, hey, okay, was my tone of voice a withdrawal for them? Was the way I said that sharp? Hey, I wasn't paying attention to them when they were trying to talk to me. I was on my phone. That's probably a withdrawal. So it's me noticing the things that could be a withdrawal from my partner's love account and making sure I at least double the deposits that I make. I can't just give them a peck on the cheek in the morning and think that's going to carry them for the rest of the day. What are the little ways, even if you work separately, like we understand you're not with each other every minute of every day. So with the time that you are both together and apart, what are little things that you can do to show, hey babe, I'm thinking of you, or I love you, or I appreciate you. And especially too, when you come back together, don't just come back into the kitchen. One of you's cleaning up or starting dinner, the other's putting their stuff away, one of you's on the phone, the other person's with the kids. Like you're, again, just operating beside each other. So it is intentionally looking for what are the deposits I can make even when we're busy. Now, we already know what you're thinking. Freeman's, it's hard to think of the things. And also, how do we stay consistent? And we're busy. What do you mean? How do we stay connected when we're taking care of the kids and cooking breakfast and we're trying to respond to work emails? That is exactly why we created our most popular resource, which is the 30-day Prioritizing Us Couples Challenge, because so many couples wonder that. How do we, in the chaos of life, with the low energy that we have, how do we prioritize us? So our next round is starting in just a couple days from when this episode publishes. So go to mycoupleschallenge.com. Actually pause this and actually enter this into your browser. You're going to want to sign up. Again, mycoupleschallenge.com. You can read countless testimonials. We have had over 40,000 couples, both men and women, love these prompts because they're realistic and they move the needle for you guys to feel connected. So go there while we continue the rest of this podcast.
It'll also be linked in the show notes. One of the ways I want to frame this also is, well, the best way is just to do the 30-day couples challenge. But make a deposit in the morning, and then every time you notice there's a withdrawal, I want you to make a deposit to counter it, and then just for good measure, make another deposit at the end of the day. So that should keep you to net +1 at least. So that's the goal. So let's move into habit 3, and this is sharing something from your heart, not just from your mind. Now the theme here goes back to these 3 islands that we've talked about: dysfunction, function, and connection. And it's just understanding that connection comes from aligning with your hearts, not on things really with your mind. Your mind is where there's logic. Your mind plans, it predicts, it focuses more on details and problem solving and what problems came up. And yes, that's needed for the base level of functioning and can bring you harmony from dysfunction, yes. And I by no means am discounting this. Like, I'm all about the function, the structure, but that should be your baseline. But if you only talk about things from the intellect or from the mind, the logistics, the problems, the things to solve, it does start to lower the energy between you because, again, it's just all about function. Where getting to conversations and actions that are driven from the heart, that's where understanding, connection, love, all of those types of emotions actually come from.
And the way that each of you connect at a heart level is going to be different, right? But what Aaron is getting at is that just you two talking about the schedule for the day or debriefing your day and, hey, how did that meeting go? Or, hey, how was, our kiddo's soccer practice? Or, oh, hey, by the way, did you pick up that item from the grocery store? You know that those details are not going to connect you. So the heart is really getting to talking about your experience even of the day, rather than just saying like, oh, the meeting was fine. Talk about how you really feel about it. That could be, you know what, man, I was actually really stressed out because I was worried, like I'm not, meeting my coworkers' expectations, and that kind of, makes me feel insecure. Or be excited. Actually, you know what? I am really excited about this project, and here's why. And sharing like more, again, about your experience of the things that you were doing. So it can be experience, it can be your feelings. It's asking each other more meaningful questions. That's why a lot of couples and families love when they're at the dinner table and they have some kind of tradition of, like, I've heard some people say they call it like the peak and the valley of their day. And so that's one tradition you can start. So it's rather than, again, just talking about the thing you did, but why that was a peak for you or why that was a valley, because you get more of a sense of, what is my partner's experience of life? Yeah, I know they're off doing work, or, I know they do a lot with the kids, but what is their experience? That's a huge piece. What else would you say is the heart?
I would say looking into the future and sharing what you're excited about creating, your vision, your dreams, your aspirations. Those are also things that aren't just in your day, but are, painting the picture, the future that you want to live into. And that gives you a lot of context for why you go through the challenges that you go through.
Yeah.
So we'll leave that with you to find your own path to connecting with each other's heart. And let's move to habit number 4, which is to repair micro tensions quickly before they turn into conflicts. So the main point here is that you're not avoiding tension. You also don't need to always call it out or have a repair conversation for everything, but we want you to get down to this idea of course correcting more quickly. So catching these moments when there's, a little bit of tension, there's the opportunity for this to become something bigger, and then you keep it as a blip rather than escalating into conflicts or the cycle.
Because going back to the main point around happiness, right? When we are talking about feeling like a happy couple and happy individuals, that doesn't mean that every moment or every interaction in your day is full of bliss and joy. It's recognizing, oh, hey, you know what? When we just talked on the phone for a minute, they seemed stressed out or, they seemed in a rush. Okay. I can either kind of make this into a thing and take it personally, or I could say, you know what? Hey, what is a loving response right now? What's a way I can support them? Or, you know what, if we did bicker for a moment in the morning, how do we not dig a hole and have this become a bigger argument? How do we just realize we're both doing the best we can? We're both trying to get things done. Hey, you know what, babe? Maybe we haven't hugged this morning. It's not even about the thing we're arguing about. Maybe we're not connected. So to Aaron's point, if you can remember this quote, let's course correct quickly. Because what happens is if you do not do those little micro repairs and quickly course correct, you start to spiral downwards. And something that really wasn't a big deal, it was just stress, or it was the fact that you weren't in sync, or it was just a little minor mistake. You hold it in, you don't repair it. Now the next thing feels like an even bigger blow, an even bigger withdrawal, going back to the love account principle. Oh, now I'm going to kind of be distant from my partner. They were just kind of snappy with me. So now I'm going to withhold affection. Now you're depleting the love accounts even more. Like, do you see how this spirals? And you aren't course correcting, you're not repairing. And now your love accounts are depleted. And it feels like this little thing become this huge thing, and people struggle to then find their way back when it could have been repaired all along.
And we are making just a simple distinction between like our full repair process with the 5 R's versus the course correct more quickly. Again, you're not needing a repair conversation for everything. You do need to repair when necessary. But what we're trying to get across here is the repair is more like a quick acknowledgement or quickly taking responsibility for your side in a moment that keeps it as what we call a blip and keeps you on the same side, same team, rather than even just disconnecting you. It might not even be a conflict cycle, but just disconnecting you.
Yeah.
So what that might sound like is, oh, you know what? Sorry, I was short right there.
Yeah.
I acknowledge that, or I know I broke that promise. I'm really sorry about that. I take responsibility for that.
Or as quick, or even just like, hey, babe, I know I was just on my phone when you're talking. Sorry about that. I'm putting it away. What were you sharing with me?
Oh, yeah.
Just like you said, that acknowledgement goes a long way. It's when you don't acknowledge it and you think, oh, it shouldn't matter to them, or I shouldn't have to acknowledge that. It starts to stand out.
Yeah, so we'll keep that one simple too. See how that shows up in your day, taking the quick acknowledgement and responsibility. So let's close out here with habit 5. And this is to do one thing just to make them smile. This is really going on the principle and theme of bringing laughter and lightness into your relationship and your day.
And I think that's really the overall theme of this, right? Is that life and marriage is not something you want to just survive. Yes, there are things to get done. There are places to go. There are to-do lists to get complete. But you don't want to look back on your life and be like, babe, we made it through. We survived. We got a lot done. No, you want to look back and be like, yes, we were productive and we were really good with our routine. But you know what? We laughed together. And because think about early in your relationship when you were dating, part of what made you drawn to each other was the energy that you felt when you were around each other. And yes, that's harder to maintain the longer you're together and the busier that you get. That's why going back to the whole premise of this, right, is the intention, the choices. So how could I, if I wake up and my intention is I want to be the best partner I can be, I want to spark joy in our home, then rather than just only getting lunch prepped or cleaning up the kitchen, you could be doing that while saying something lighthearted, something little playful, being a little flirty. It's not difficult to be kind of doing things and be funny or playful.
I just realized, so we got our daughter these little squishy dinosaurs. They're different colors. It's funny how, we were saying this over the weekend, that sometimes kids get the most fun and enjoyment out of like the simplest, cheapest things. Yes. And I know I heard that years ago too, because many of us as kids, at least, in our generation, that we go outside and we find sticks or like a box and our imagination turned it into some sort of spaceship and like that costs nothing. So we've gotten our daughter plenty of cool things, but she found this cheap, small, blue, squishy dinosaur from an Easter egg from one of the Easter activities we went to, last month. And it got so gross and nasty that it fell apart. But because she carried it everywhere, so we bought these new ones. Anyway, I was just thinking, because I play with them, and she thinks it's like so funny. And if I took one, and while you were making the lunch, and I had come into the kitchen, and I was just like having it bop around and like land on your shoulder, would bring lightness.
Yeah.
So I don't know why I just thought of that specifically, but something like that. Or my last part about this will be, sometimes it's choosing to sacrifice a function activity for connection, for making them smile. So to your point, what is really the experience we're meant to have together? Okay, we can wash these dishes tonight, or we can do something where we laugh, we bring some lightness. We bought a golf cart, which has been so fun for us. So something like that. All right, we're either going to do these dishes that we always do every day. There'll always be new dishes anyway. Or we leave them and we get on the golf cart, and we drive around, we have a good time and see what comes from that.
Or also going back to the smile. Okay, I know I send my partner a lot of text messages that are very logistical. Could I say something really sweet out of the blue or flirty? Like, could I make them smile even though I know they're having a hard day?
Yeah, you could send a little video that's funny.
Yeah, exactly. A meme, like anything. So make sure that we don't miss the point of life and of marriage.
So as Yulin close us out, let me just summarize all the points. So really try to take on these 5 simple daily habits that can really lead to you being a happier couple. Number 1, start and end the day with intentions. 2, be net positive in your love accounts. 3, share something from the heart, not just from your mind. 4, repair the micro tensions quickly. And then lastly, number 5, do one thing to make them smile.
And don't use time and energy as an excuse, you guys. Yes, there's stuff to get done, but we really want you to understand this does not have to take you hours, not even 30 minutes. This is sprinkled in throughout your everyday life, and everything you're getting done is just about making little choices throughout those interactions. And that's why you're going to love the 30-day Prioritizing Us Couples Challenge. So you must, if you have not done it, go read the testimonials. You're going to see why men love it, women love it. 40,000 couples around the world have loved these prompts. So go to mycoupleschallenge.com. That's also going to be linked in the show notes. And it's an absolute must. No matter what you got going on in life, it is going to benefit your relationship. So we hope you enjoyed this podcast. If you're new here, make sure you hit the subscribe button so you can hear past and future episodes. And if you've listened to at least one episode and you've taken away something that's valuable, it would help so much if you would rate and review us on whichever platform you're listening on. Give us that 5 stars, write a sentence on there. We read every single one. And we're grateful that you're here, and we will talk to you on the next episode.